also, I want to start by saying, I feel three of the strongest females we currently have in the agency. And, why it's near and dear to my heart is, and please no one take this the wrong way, but I'm just trying to be transparent and honest with you. In this company, and I would argue, I've been here 14 years. I would say since I've been here, it's been a very male dominated company and a very male dominated industry. And I think especially over the last couple of years, and this is not to disrespect us men, but we're starting to see some of the negatives of that. Some of the cultures that get built, the lack of diversity and the lack of a lot of skill sets that are needed to build a company properly. And, I'm very excited to say, because we are one of the leading organizations, over 67% of our roster is female. We lead the company. So we have a massive amount. And then beyond that, our leadership is over half female as well. Senior leadership, we're still gunning. So if senior leadership is something you're going for, please help us diversify the ranks. But we are one of the leading charges. And I don't think there's any surprise on why all 3 years, we're now in our 4th year, we have experienced growth every single year. So it is kind of nice that we are one of the trendsetters. And I believe the way we do business kind of encourages the demographic and those people to come in. So this is a very near and dear interview Thursday for me, because I think it is a representation of one of the ways that we do business and some of the ways that we're doing differently from majority of organizations. And I think it's something we should be proud of. Okay. Let me bring up our panelists. So we used to do one-on-one interviews. We are now doing more panel settings. They work great, where it's going to be me, 3 speakers at the same time. I will ask a series of questions to all 3 of our speakers, and they will each have their time. So first, let's welcome Jade Welty to the stage. Okay, let's bring up Jade Welty. She is a powerhouse RGA, the mother of a star cross-country athlete, and a star, well, can I say star football athlete? I mean, he's one of the big dogs now too.
He's a rising star freshman.
Mm-hmm. Dual income household. Her husband is actually a blue collar worker with a very intense schedule himself. And she is about to have the cusp of having 3 MGA ships under her hierarchy. So, she has a full set of dishes herself. So I think those of you in leadership and looking to get into leadership, no one else better to talk to than Mrs. Jade Welty. So Jade, we are going to start off with you being one of the leaders in the squad. This is kind of the old-fashioned way we used to do the interviews, but I think it's important, for this kind of setting and, in honor of Mother's Day. But let's go through the background. So walk us through a little bit of your story for what you feel is relevant to what turns you into what you are today, which makes you have the tenacity to manage all the things you do, and maybe some of the things that you feel have caused some of the largest changes in who you are today. So give us a little bit of that background, what brought us to today.
Right. So this is a little different question, because I don't think I've shared this with the entire organization before. We've talked about what I've done for work before and that kind of thing. And that, I grew up very, very, for lack of a better word, poor. Being raised by a single parent is really what caused that. My father left when I was 5. My sister was 3. And he left because he had addiction issues and all that, but kind of left us with no second income. So there was no child support. There was nothing else. And in the 90s, when that was the case, there was no such thing as universal healthcare or Medi-Cal or whatever all that kind of stuff is. You had to come out of pocket for a lot of stuff. And we didn't have a lot of things. We didn't have a lot of furniture. We didn't have cable. I didn't have Nickelodeon or MTV or any of that stuff. It was tough, because as a kid, I wanted all of those things, and I felt like we deserved all those types of things. So being raised by a single parent and just wanting better, wanting, what people around me had, really taught me priorities, because my mom's number one priority, working 3 jobs. She worked overnight at a hotel as a operator. She worked and right after that, she'd get off and take a nap. She worked a different customer service job. And then on the weekends, she was like a live-in at a group home for disabled adults. So that's 3 jobs. So it really taught me priorities. Keeping a roof over our head was her number one priority. Keeping food in the fridge was the secondary priority. A lot of survival, but it taught me independence, being able to count on myself, to get things done, because if my mom couldn't take care of something, I would have to. Like, I wasn't just going to allow us to not, if she couldn't go grocery shopping, I wasn't going to allow us to not have food. Even at 7 years old, I would take back then a check from my mom and actually go grocery shopping, you know? So it also taught me some creative out of the box solution thinking, So like, this is old, but back in the 90s, you would get these offers for cable. So every time there was like a 3 month, like Comcast was offering something, I'd be like, oh, we got cable for 3 months.
Coupon shopping is a
Yeah.
big 90s. Yes.
Yeah. So coupons, whatever we could do, programs out there. I was always like, my mom was so busy working. And on the other side of that, and it's kind of funny because I was really young, I would always be like hustling for how can we have what other people have. So I was always looking at the different programs that were out there for like low income, how can we get shoes? How can we get backpacks? How can we get stuff? And so it just taught me some like anything can happen. There's, maybe not just like a straight line way to make it happen. Maybe you have to think outside the box to get it to work. But yeah.
Spectacular. Yeah, I think a lot of people can connect with stories that are similar. And I think, you guys hear me talk a lot about when you start the job, you kind of need one of two things. You need something like pressure, or you need goals. Like there needs to be something that's pressuring you to move forward, to advance, to work hard, to acquire whatever it is. If you have a nice setup where there's not a lot of pressure, your bills are paid, you're in a pretty good spot, then you need goals, something that's pulling you towards that productivity or whatever it is. You are a whole nother beast when you have both. And it's like a lot of people that come from these types of backgrounds is when they have the pressure of like, I'm never going back. But then they also have the goals of, I'm never going back. I want the things that other people had. It can turn you into a whole nother beast. So Jade, I appreciate your openness to the story. But for you, a lot of you guys is if you have similar backgrounds or coming from it, like, man, if that's turned you into who you are today, you can use that as a source of power and a source of fuel that I feel like a lot of people use it as an obstacle, Thank you so much for sharing. We all know that this job, and guys, I'm just every damn job, dude, every career that's difficult, that rewards well, that pays well, you go through this, but it's an emotional experience. It can be emotionally draining, especially when you're a mother, parent, all these things. There needs to be a separation. You can't bring that baggage with you obviously there will be at the expense of other people if you do. So what are some ideas? How do you keep yourself mentally strong enough to where you can have that separation? You have a really rough day, your teeth get kicked in, bad conversations, whatever it is. How do you separate that when you now go to your family, your personal life, you do whatever? Meenakshi, let's kick off with you. Why don't you start this one off?
Um, I just feel like when you are out in the field, I am out in the field a lot. So I actually emotionally connect to a lot of people who become my friends and they come to my parties and all that good stuff. So to detach yourself completely of something is very, very difficult. But at the same time, every experience that you have with somebody, it actually makes you appreciate what you have today. So the way when I see some challenging times, I realize how blessed I am. So the way that I detach myself from anything that is negatively going over there is to appreciate what presently is happening in my life and how blessed I feel when I come home to a husband, when I come home to my grandchild or my children, and all my children are, I have excellent. They're not children, they're adults. They are all adults. My oldest is over 30 years old, and my youngest is 23. So I have grandbabies and stuff. So the sense of appreciation is going to absolutely detach that feeling, but you will feel sorry for the whatever situation is happening. But when you come home, home is a place of peace. So I always tell everybody, don't come to my house with any negative energy. I believe in negative energy carries a long way. So when I walk into the door, I leave all that outside and appreciate what I have around me, the love that I have for my family and the love I have for my friends. And then when I go to work, I just leave whatever's happening at my house over here, and then I focus on whatever is priority at that time. So it's just an experience. You just have to uh, kind of appreciate everything around yourself,
Mm.
including pain. You can appreciate the good without the bad.
I love that. Yin and yang, dude. Every single culture's got it. So you can't have good without evil. You can't have pain without pleasure. So I love that answer. So Jade, let's go to you.
All right. So since
Rough day. We've had a lot of them, right? How do we
have them,
how do we come back?
That's okay. We have them. It's part of the thing. So, I say it's a lightning round, so I'm going to kind of spit these off fast. So number one, give yourself some grace. Let yourself just have that bad day for a minute. It's okay not to be okay, sort of a thing. Just let yourself kind of like feel that. If you need to cry, get it out of you. So it's not like lingering on, whatever, right? And then set some boundaries around things. So, I would say for myself as a leader, sometimes, I take on other people's stuff, which is totally fine. And sometimes it's days where it's like a lot of people's extra stuff, which is fine. But sometimes you have to set that boundary where you're like, hey, let's have this conversation on another time, another day. And I've even had to have it with my family where I'm like, dude, I've had a tough day. Can we pick this up tomorrow? Like kind of like schedule, right? Can we schedule this one out for tomorrow? I just need a minute. I'm not going to be
garbage truck is full. We got to make it to the dump.
Not in the right frame of mind. I'm not like thinking straight. We're not going to get the best out of me today, right? So let's just table that for another time if it's not important. Focus on what you can control is huge. So you cannot control other people's emotions, reactions, words. You can control yourself and how you react to that and how you respond. So that's a big one right there is like you have a choice all the time on how you feel and how you respond to things. So just knowing that you stay in control and you have the ability to focus and you can control on staying positive. So having that positivity that things are going to get better and there's always a silver lining to something, even if it was bad. Seek out what lessons were in that tough situation.
I love it, dude. I love it. Jade, follow it up.
Yeah,
some words of wisdom to the other women on the call of capitalizing on the opportunity.
I think that you don't get very many opportunities in your lifetime where you can, especially in this particular opportunity now that you can work virtually, have flexibility with your family and make six figures. It doesn't come
up to seven figures.
Up to seven. I'm going to get there. Up to seven. It's just so unique. Like that opportunity doesn't come around. Take advantage of that opportunity, and not just that, but building generational wealth. We don't get that opportunity all the time. And it's just I'm going to take it also like, yes, for women, but honestly also for anyone that's been in a job that's worked next to somebody else that's getting like the same pay as you and you're doing above and beyond them. Like this is the opportunity to seize that extra ability to make the income that person shouldn't have been making, to be honest. Like this is for people that I didn't go to college. I don't have a degree. So I can make six figures, seven figures without that. This is for all those people that, graduated and didn't have the opportunity to go and get higher learning. This is for moms that are with single moms or single dads at home. Like this is an opportunity for underprivileged, overprivileged, whatever. Like it's a level playing field. You don't get that anywhere. So
you took the words out of my mouth. It's one of my favorite things about it. The power of a level playing field is a very interesting environment to be a part of. So I love that. Absolutely love that. All right, Meenakshi, take us home. Why do we capitalize?
Okay, I think unfortunately for the men here, and fortunately for the women here, biologically, we have the ability to multitask. So only few men are able to do that. Either they are going to focus on the kid and they won't be running shit. The water's going to be boiling and the whole kitchen's probably going to catch fire. So women have the ability to do multiple things at the same time. They'll be washing the clothes, and then in the meantime, they'll go and cut the vegetables, and then they'll be going and changing the diaper at the same time. So both sides of our brains work. So we always have a competitive advantage over men. On top of that, we have an emotional advantage over men. The way men are raised, they are taught to be tough. You can't cry. You have to be the man of the household. If the kid is crying or boys crying? Why are you trying to be like a girl? So there is a stigma about those showing that emotion for men. So in this profession, like you said, Andrew, 60% of our workforce is women. And we were reached the $5 million club last year because 60% of the women workforce worked. Look at Jade's numbers. Look at Brittany doing well. Look at Kara. Yes, Alvin's there, man in the middle of us, but I give credit to the guy. He's a sweetheart. He's a veteran. I have a lot of respect for his numbers. But at the same time, when we go to a household, our voices have an impact. Our presence has an impact. The biologically, but the presence of a woman, the way she speaks, the way she's going to connect those emotions with these people, and the way you guys are going to be connecting to the same person. I can guarantee you, if the same client talks to a woman and that person talks to a man communicating about life insurance, the communication in both those categories are going to be totally different because he's going to be more willing to listen to a woman more than a man. Unfortunately, that's how it is because we are emotionally able to soften the whole situation. So you got to use all those connections and emotions and feelings towards your advantage, but in a positive way. So if you're talking to somebody and talking to them about a head start and you have a child yourself, you are able to connect to that emotion and say, hey, I know it's hard to talk about thinking about your children dying. I have two kids of my own. And so that connection that you can bring in and the feeling that you can bring in, unfortunately the man isn't able to bring that. So if I was to have any other person just say exactly the same thing who's a male figure, he's going to be very authoritative when he's talking to you. So women do have a competitive advantage of those emotions and feelings and just trying to come there and make the story tell, the art of storytelling. Women are really good at it. Andrew's very good at it too, because I know he does an incredible job in the presentation. So I think that emotional touch and you being powerful and your aura and the way you carry yourself and the way you present yourself, all that makes a difference. And there's nothing that is going to stop you from making money in this job. This is one of the most beautiful things I'm telling you. Please have some good, solid appointments. Work hard on scheduling those appointments where they are not just, oh, somebody just picked up the phone. Let me just tell them to schedule an appointment. So work smarter, not harder. So you just work a little harder when you're making those calls and tell people to respect your time. Respecting is very important. And I think the women are good at that and they present themselves in a very positive way, even though men do too. So like I said, Tyler, I see him going like, I talk to him all the time. I love him so much. And I see him being bigger than Andrew at one point, and Andrew and I are in agreement about that, and I think it's going to be powerful. So women, just do your job because you're not less than anybody else. We are very powerful in our own selves, and as long as you're focused, you can actually have your husband sit at home and let them have a little vacay time while you go to work. Let's turn the tables here.
Very good.